Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. And this is a review for Snowfall, y'all, okay? This is Snowfall Revolutions, okay? Season 5, Episode 4. And we started out this episode with Mama Sissy back, okay? I'm happy to see her back. She's coming in the house. She's looking all around. She's basically reminiscing, remembering when she first moved in the house with Franklin as a little boy. Alton is there coming in with boxes. She's asking him what he think about the place. He's like, it's all right. And she's like, boy, don't you know when I was your age, we all kind of had to be stuffed into one room or whatever the case may be. And, she's just basically having her flashbacks. Of course, she looks down and sees one of Wanda's shoes on the floor. And then we go ahead and see, Jerome and them is trying to pack up the supply that they have. They like, we need a bigger trunk. We need some more cars. He was like, more cars require more, drivers and all this other kind of stuff. And so they're basically just trying to see how they could go ahead and get that together and make that work. All right. And, Jerome is saying to one of the guys, you're not the smartest one in the room. Okay. And so as they're packing up the stuff, they're just talking about, burgers and trying to pass out food. And he's hearing music. He's like, yeah, turn that up. And, when he really started listening, he like, wait, hold up. And I'm like, wait, are they rapping about them? First they like, that's some gangster shit. But then you start hearing the words and they basically talking about how, the shooter was hiding to save his face and basically saying the big homie Rami was only moving for one night and women and children are supposed to be safe. And he's saying, Franklin to the Benjamins and they playing both sides. And he was like, Khadija, man, boy is goners and the streets is hot and rest in peace to Tiana. So Jerome is like, wait, hold up, run that back. Like, where you got that tape from? And of course they go looking for the guy that is responsible for making the tapes. And we see him on top of the damn roof with a skateboard. At first, Jerome is like, oh, is it a white boy? He like, nah. And they told him they looking for Maurice. And they like, he's up there. And sure enough, like I said, you see him on the roof with the skateboard. And they like, yo, get your butt down here or whatever. And they was like, told you. And he's like, jump down, because he's looking mad confused. And so when he comes down, of course, they all laughing. And, his name is Maurice apparently. And he's like, all right, hold up. And so when he comes down, he's like, I haven't really figured out the prices yet. And they were like, do we look like we coming to buy you something? And will we be buying something from you? And will we be paying to get, snitching? And he was like, is it snitching or is it observing? Okay. And so he's basically saying he's just observing and rapping about, stuff that's happening in the streets. And so Jerome was like, you putting our business out on the street or whatever. And he was like, put all the tapes in the bag. So they basically taking all his tapes. He like, wait, hold up. And they like, nah, every one of them. And he was like, well, let me just keep these over here. And so they was asking him, is it all in his head? And he was like, yeah. And they was like, well, cool. Then if we need to get rid of any evidence, that means that we could just, and they basically pull out a gun, put it to his head. And, he's still talking about some, so y'all just gonna kill my whole album. And they was like, this little MF right here. And so Jerome asked him how long he's been rapping. And he was like, since I slid out my mom, I've been rapping. So, Jerome is like, all right, then let us hear something. Come on, put something out right now. He's like, I'm an artist. I got to get motivated. Like, how much more motivated you got to be when people got guns out to you? But in the meantime, we get the crash unit coming in, okay? They're showing us the crash unit, which this is something that did happen, especially when they thought they was doing the war on drugs. We seeing them coming, with freaking dogs and all of this chasing them down. We hear Leon screaming, he's a kid. They got their batons out. They breaking in people daggone doors. They throwing Leon and Uncle Jerome and them down. So, of course, they not happy about this at all, all right? And, they got the boy on the ground. And then, of course, here come Mr. Officer Bo Diddley that's always going over to Louis' office. He's still mad that I guess he haven't got this big breakthrough that he wanted. He already said how they supposed to make a certain amount of arrests. So now he's coming there messing with them, which, of course, that is not good for anybody, okay? And so they are really upset about that. And of course they end up having a this ends up being where Franklin gets a call because he was basically sitting with Miss what's her name, Veronique, okay, and they are reminiscent of themselves. Basically, he's saying how when she first moved into the apartment, she would cook him different types of meals. He's missing the meals. He can't even get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich now. He's saying how he want to eat this last egg roll, and then the phone starts ringing, and of course he's getting a call to tell him that they got they came through with these damn crash squads. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna call you from my outside line in 5 minutes, and she tells him she's coming with them because she's basically like, you said they came through, and she was like, let's go and make sure everybody's all right, which I was not really trusting that too much. I'm still giving her the side eye because they just have not given her that much when it comes to her character, okay? It's just some random chick that's thrown into his life that now knows a lot about the business, is running one of his businesses, is supposedly pregnant by him. It's just a lot going on with her. But nonetheless, they got ahead to go there. And so the next thing we seeing Franklin coming, walking through, and we're seeing, Peaches basically sitting at the domino table, and he's kind of startled when they first come through the doors, and then he go ahead and sit back down, and they go in there and they're talking, and of course Leon is really pissed off. He's not trying to hear it, okay? He says if they want a war, they could get a war. Louis is saying, listen, okay, since I know the cop and me and him, basically have been doing these dealings together, I'm going to try my best to find out what's going on. In the meantime, everybody's kind of giving funny looks to the fact that Veronique is there because she came with Franklin. She's sitting in the back. And so, they like Franklin is saying, okay, but what do y'all need? What's going on at this point? And so Leon was like, they gotta understand, if they come at us, we gonna come back at them. And Louis is saying, what are you saying? And he was like, yo, I'm saying we ain't going for this, okay? And so Louis was like, we drug dealers, cops is gonna come after us, that's part of the game. And he was like, so we just supposed to lay to this, ain't no game. They sicking dogs on people, and this boy ended up in the hospital. And so again, Franklin is trying to say, all right, calm down. And of course, this is when Leon is saying that they're ready for war, but Mama Sissy comes walking in the door. And so Franklin turns around and he's like, Mama, and they all laugh. Jerome look, they like, oh, so of course she's like, oh, my baby. She gives him a hug. This, of course, cuts into the conversation that they was having. And Leon just sits down or whatever have you, Veronique is standing by waiting to say hi. She's saying hi to Jerome, giving him a big hug. Like, you should have told us you was coming. And so, of course, after that, Veronique is like, wow. And she's like, Miss Saint, and she walks over and, Mama Sissy gives her a big hug and was like, I came as soon as I heard. So Jerome is like, heard what? And she's like, you haven't told them? And he's like, tell us what? They both looking like, what the hell is going on here? And so she was like, I'm pregnant. So Jerome, of course, starts laughing. Louis is like, what? She chuckles a little bit, but she still got the serious face on. And then Franklin is like, yeah, we're going to have a baby. And Jerome is basically like, congratulations. You're going to name him Jerome. And he's actually excited about it. But Louis didn't look like she was that excited, okay? And so we like, okay, they got that going on. So, Louis basically goes to meet the cop. She's like, you think it's okay that you coming through and treating your people like this? And he was like, that's not my people. They haven't been my people since they was calling me Redbone. And she's like, okay, then, well, my people then, all right? And he's like, well, I bet you one thing, I won't have to ask 2 times again. So in other words, she's letting him know, like, look, I told you I was going to get somebody, to basically take the fall or to put him on, for him to make an arrest, like, she needs time. And he was, essentially letting her know, like, well, next time maybe you'll move faster, okay? You moving a little too slow, and I had to ask you 2 times, so that's why I went and did this. And he basically was like, are we done now? and walked off pretty much. So her, it was good talking to her, and I'm like, damn, he's dangerous. And she was like, I need to know that I'm not gonna have no issues out of you, and you ain't gonna be trying to mess with me anytime you feel like it. And he was like, as long as you do what I ask, you'll be fine. But I don't trust that Louis. This cop needs to get the hell up out of there, okay, ASAP. All right. And so Franklin, of course, after this meets up with Teddy. He talking about how he was stuck in traffic and how he thought they said, traffic was much better now, but he still was stuck in it for a minute. Like anybody gives a damn about that. And he's like sorry he late. And so Franklin lets him know like the projects was hit yesterday, Leon and his folks. And of course Teddy is like okay, and then Franklin is like, things have gotten a lot worse since you've been gone, especially in the last couple months. It's been brutal. And so here comes Teddy. Yeah, I mean, well, you literally moving tons of, drugs. So what did you expect? And he was like, considering I'm moving them from the damn nation, I thought I would get a little help. And he was like, oh, that's what you asked me for help? He was like, the Los Angeles Police Department is not going to help. So he was like, I thought you had LAPD contacts before. He was like, not no more. And Franklin is like, why not? What happened? So Teddy talking about, are you kidding me? Your father, he went to the press. They don't want to mess with anybody now. They don't want that kind of exposure. Don't you remember? And there probably could be some truth to that. But at the end of the day, it's Teddy. He's full of crap and I'm sick of him. I want him going too. So whatever. Okay. And Franklin is basically like, this is some bull crap. And so Teddy gonna ask him, is it just your people on the street? He was like, yes, but. And so Teddy was like, well, it's my advice. Don't worry about it. Crash is a scary name, but at the end of the day, they not gonna mess around too long. They not gonna be a threat to you, in the grand scheme of things. He was like, if this is in South Central, so nobody cares. If it was a white neighborhood, yeah, then you would, have a right to be worried. And so he's like, it's not like they're gonna send in the, National Guard. And he's like, just keep yourself insular, only deal with your family, and they can never touch you. So I'm like, okay, I don't know if I believe that, but we shall see, right? And so we basically then had Leon. He goes to see Avi, okay? Leon is over it. He's serious about this. He is ready for war. He tells Avi that he needs some special devices, okay? He needs some rocket launchers and anything else you got because he is ready to go to war. And Avi is like, okay, you about to go to the war with the police? You know what I'm saying? And so at first Avi was trying to make small talk, asked him if he liked baseball. He like, nah, I'm not really into American, pastime. And so he basically was like, he needs some armor piercing stuff. He needs stuff that could mess something up. So Avi was asking him, like, can I acquire? What do you want these lethal, devices for? And Leon was like, the other boys in blue. So Avi was like, you plan to declare war on the police? And, basically at this point, Leon is like, listen, oppression on tyranny, okay? He was like, did I really have to come to you and explain everything? And so Avi is like, no, it's true. I've witnessed uprising in my time, okay? Don't get it twisted. Some are more successful than others. But he was like, I could tell you that, out the projects, these do not exist. And to successfully lead, you're not going to get it the way that you're dreaming about. And so Leon was like, well, I guess that depends on how you define success. And so Avi tells him success is surviving, okay? And so Leon talking about even if he get one pig is a win. And, Avi is like, not if they can, come after all your people still, then what did you really win? And so, at this point, Leon is getting kind of frustrated. He like, I got money, I got guns. Are you going to give me this shit or not? Or do I have to go somewhere else? So Avi tells him, okay, just give me a few days. Like you said, these are specialty items, so it's going to take me a little time. And Leon tells him to call him when he has the stuff that he wants. And Avi tells him sure thing. So I'm like, y'all done piss Leon off, okay? And so Wanda's actually working and my girl is looking good, y'all. I just really, really want Wanda to win. I don't want her to get back into those damn drugs. I'm just hoping. And so right now she's letting them know One person didn't want to give her the rent money because he said his toilet was messed up. She thought he was just bull crapping. But when she actually went in and checked it, it was messed up. So she went and bought a snake and for $8, okay, went and fixed the damn toilet for him. And she hope it's not a problem that she did spend, the $8 for the snake out of the rent money. And they was like, no, that's not a problem at all. And I'm just nervous with Wanda handling money, y'all. I'm nervous. I just don't want it to be any problems. I don't want her to steal. I don't want her to get back on drugs. I feel like the handyman part, if she could fix different stuff, is cool. But I'm really, really nervous with her handling money. But other than that, it seems like she did a good job and she does look great, okay? We have Sissy come in and she seems really uncomfortable when Sissy comes walking in, and they telling her welcome, to this development. Of course, they're happy to show her. She's giving Franklin a hug. She's giving Veronique a hug, and then she says hello to Wanda, and he was like, I want you to meet Wanda Bell, and she was like, hi, Miss Saint. And so she tells her, oh, you're the one that's been staying in the house. And she was like, yes, I'm so sorry, for you seeing a mess. I would have cleaned if I knew you was coming, but nobody told me. And so they still kind of just was like an awkward silence. And then, Sissy told her, I'm fine. I hope it's been a safe space for you. And so she was like, yes, it has. And she was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to work. I don't know what the look between her and Veronique was. And then she tells Sissy, it was nice to meet her. And so they're all laughing and they asking Sissy what she thinks. And she was like, yo, this is nice. It's better than I could have ever imagined. I'm so proud of you. Like, you've done good, of both of you. And so Veronique tells her it's the foundation that you laid, and Sissy's telling her is lucky that he's found you. I see that you've lifted a heavy burden for him. And she was like, well, he's the most capable man that I've ever met. And Sissy says just like his father. And so Franklin is basically like, all right, Ma, come on, have a seat. And they are trying to show her, I guess some of the projects that they have working, including this downtown project, and they're like fixing up the screen to just show her, I guess, different slides or whatever. And in the meantime, while they're going over, the locations and the options that they have and the opportunities, Sissy seems like she's half listening and half in a whole nother world, okay? We did have Jerome come in and he's talking to Louie and he's saying, listen, I just got a call. Franklin wants us to go to this dinner, celebrate his mom being home, have this dinner as a family in honor of Sissy. And so, Louie's like, okay, go enjoy yourself, I'll see you another time. And he was like, are you being funny? And she was like, no, we could take her out another night. She was like, tonight. He was like, look, I'm not going to keep being in the middle of what you and Franklin got. Y'all need to get it together. You need to patch it up. This is getting to be ridiculous now. And she was like, I hear that. She was like, actually, I know there's static between us, but this don't have nothing to do with that. I'm actually just tired and I want to chill and watch these white people acting a fool on TV, and that's it. I'm exhausted. I don't feel like going out. And he was like, nah, that's unacceptable, okay? Jerome put his foot down in this minute. He was like, I need you to go ahead and get it together. I have not seen my sister in a year. All right. And we're going to go ahead and get our behinds out. You are going to do this for me. All right. And he got all up in her face, went down on his knees. All right. Got to her in eye level and was like, I know there's a lot going on. Scully cutting off people's ears, cops got it all messed up, whatever the case may be, and my nephew, is a whole lot happening. But in the meantime, I haven't seen my sister in over a year, and you are going to come out with me tonight. We are going to bring this family together and have this dinner, and you're going to do this for me. And she had to sit back and think about it for a second and be like, you know what? You are right. Okay, 100%. She was like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to do this. I'm so sorry. Okay, because as much as Jerome be doing for you, yes, girlfriend, you can go to dinner. And she was like, you want me there? I'm there. And I was like, okay, now we talking. All right. And so, we have Leon walking with Franklin, trying to catch up with him again. Franklin came and, Leon doesn't really seem like he want to be bothered. He's kind of like, is that all? And he's like, no, actually, I wanted you to come through tonight. It would really mean a lot. And then, Leon is saying, I'll never forget what your mother did for me, but I'm really not trying to be there now. I'm trying to be here. I'm trying to check on my people. I'm trying to make sure they okay. And he was like, this is family. Nothing is more important. That's what Franklin says to Leon. And Leon was like, I'm not sure if I could believe that right now. He was like, or maybe it's just right now that my people need me more. And so Franklin was like, what do you mean? He was like, folks are here in the projects. He was like, I mean black folks everywhere. Leon says, we making money and all our shit is right, and instead of lifting them up, we putting them in a position where either they get hurt, they on the pipe, or they arrested. And so Franklin was like, look, I understand you want to help people, but tonight I need you to show up for me, okay? And Leon tells him, sorry, saying, I can't be celebrating eating steaks and shit while my people are out here hurt. So Leon is on his Malcolm X right now. He's like, give your mom the best. He just can't focus on what Franklin wants him to focus on. And we know we was already seeing a separation coming between them two before. But I think this is going in a completely different situation and for completely different reasons, okay? And so now we have them all here at this dinner. They're laughing. Veronique is trying to have some jokes on Jerome, and Sissy's like, oh, she can hang, and Franklin is like, yeah, that's my girl. And Sissy is saying how she can't drink the way that she used to. She won't have any tonight because she can't handle it no more. Jerome is like, get out of here. And I have to say, Sissy has such a beautiful smile. It's nice seeing her smiling. And so, Louis actually asked her if that's the reason why she came home is because of the baby. And, Sissy is like, yeah, that's a big part of it. But, I also just felt like it was time for me to go home. It was nothing else left for me there. Franklin gives a toast to his mom. And, they come over and ask them if they're ready to eat. And they basically are like, yeah. So they have the food, they eating, they talking. Everything is looking good. But Sissy keeps seeing these looks between, Louis and Franklin. And she also, has said to Franklin, like, Dad, your dad would have been just, crazy happy to see how you doing, how everything's flowing, to be a grandfather. Franklin is like, oh, Ma, Jerome have a horse now, and she's laughing about like that, like, what, get out of here, whatever. But in the meantime, she does keep observing that is these looks, coming back and forth. And Louis asked, did you ever find out what happened to him, Alton? And then Franklin is like, she don't have to talk about that right now. But Sissy does answer. She says, officially no, but I think we all know what happened. Teddy basically killed him is what she believes, all right? And so Franklin is giving Louis the evil eyes because she asked this, okay? And so she's like, Teddy McDonald killed him. And of course, they all get quiet and kind of put their heads down or whatever. And Franklin says, you can't know that for sure. And Sissy laughs and says, Franklin. And then, Franklin talking about, hey, an ex-Black Panther. A lot of people could have been interested in him. And Sissy says to wipe him off the face of the earth, only one man wanted to do that, okay? And again, he's giving Louis like across the table. And she said, what the hell is going on between you two? You two have been kicking, each other under the table the whole night. What is going on? And then Franklin says, it's nothing, forget about it. But Louis was like, well, we might as well tell her. I think she needs to know, okay? And of course, Franklin is not happy that she said that. But at the end of the day, she did deserve to know. And so, of course, Sissy is looking and she's saying, Franklin, okay, what's really good? Like, what is going on, all right? What are you keeping from me? And so he says Teddy is back. And, of course, this just crushes her and changes the whole, mood at the table or whatever the case may be for her to know that Teddy is back. And this is who she believes killed her husband, okay? So, of course, in the ride home, back home in the car, she basically is with Franklin and Veronique, and she says, I really want to be there for you, Franklin, but I see that I can't fully do that, okay? I want to be here, I want to help you, I want to support you, and all that good stuff, but if you keep me in the dark, then I can't do that, all right? And so, Veronique is talking about Miss Franklin is an open book, and she says, not that business, baby, okay? I'm talking to my son right now about a whole nother business. He know what I'm talking about, like, stay out of this, sweetie, okay? That was a nice way of saying that. And so, basically, Franklin starts saying, you want in on the game? And she was like, listen, I lost my husband because of it, and now the man that was responsible is back in our lives. And he says, well, even if that's true, how can you be back in the game, make it better? And so she basically was like, when I first walked into the club and I saw Veronique standing there, I knew you had found the right woman. And she was like, you know how I know that? And he was like, how? And she was like, because she was there. I don't know about all that, mama, but all right now. And she said, someone that you could trust with that part of the life, he said, well, I don't take her on drops with me. She was like, yeah, but she knows about Teddy, don't you? And then she was like, yes, or whatever the case may be, I do. And so she was like, so Franklin told me, so now you want to come on with me on drops, huh? And move the product? He said, I mean, what are you asking me? And she said, I didn't come here to burden you, Franklin, okay? I want to help. And I just don't want to be kept in the dark, period, point blank, all right? Not anymore. And so we have that established. And, Franklin is just basically looking out the window and looking like a little sad boy at that point. All right. Because he wants to protect his mama and his mama wants to protect him. That's understandable. And so, we then had Mama Sissy come walking through, where the raids and everything happened, just looking at all the different damage. And of course, she wants to go and check on Leon, all right? Her and Leon have always kind of had a special connection. And so when she goes in and she's saying hi to Leon, of course, she could see that there's these guns on the table. He go ahead and try to cover it back up with this cloth. And she's telling him basically that one of the things she learned while she was in Cuba that surprised her is that they have 100% literacy rate. She was like, everybody, no matter who it is, knows how to read and write. They color, they class, don't have nothing to do with it. And they're all decent schools and good medical care. And he was like, it got to be some things wrong with it. And, she was saying they really do care about their people. And she said, yeah, of course. Everywhere got something. They have problems, but it's not like how it is here. Okay. And so basically, definitely not like this. And so basically he was like, but look what they had to go through. They had a revolution, right? And he was like, that's what we trying to do. And so she was like, you right. She said, but there are other ways to wage a revolution. And he was basically like, how? She said, well, when we were with the Black Panthers, there were a lot of times that we made changes without firing a shot. And he said, maybe you should have. And she was like, maybe, I'm sure there are times that there probably was, but she was like, violence becomes the story that everybody hears, not justice, and you end up in dead or jail. Okay, and the worst part of that exactly is that that's what they want to happen, all right? And so not only do you lose, but they win, all right? So mama dropping some knowledge for Leon, all right? And then he was like, so what do we do then? And she said, well, there's many different things that we could do. There's always other ways to fight. And there's actually a lot of other people that want to fight with you, okay? And there's a lot of other ways to make change, all right? And so I like that Sissy took that time out to have that conversation with Leon. And I feel like he was really, really listening to her when she was saying that, And so that was good. And then, we have Jerome basically still going through these tapes, listening to this music. He's listening to the same one that they was already hearing in the car. Then he starts listening to this other one that actually starts to bring up something about, his uncle is always walking there with him, but don't say nothing, something along them lines. I don't hear, remember the exact words. But in other words, that part was talking about Jerome. He definitely looked upset by hearing that part. He was not happy with it either, at all. And he ended up, rewinding a little bit. I think it was his uncle and the nephew got the eyes on the prize or something, but he keep his mouth quiet. Something along them lines, y'all. Don't get me the line, okay? But that part did not sit right with Jerome at all. He did not like it. He definitely looked like it had messed with him hearing that, okay? And I know that he did rewind it back like 2 times, and then he turned it off. We then get Veronique and, Franklin talking. They back at the house, and she's like, okay, well, it's smelling a little funky in here, so we need to go ahead and have a conversation. And he was like, I agree. She was like, no bullshit. He was like, no bullshit. So she was like, well, you didn't tell me everything about Teddy, okay? By us having this conversation and hearing what your mother had to say, you definitely downplayed the situation with Teddy. And he tells her Teddy could be difficult or whatever the case may be. And definitely since he's gotten back, he's different. Maybe paranoid or something. There's definitely something a little different about him. But as long as I do what he wants me to do and I keep, 10 toes down, in other words, it would all be good. All right. And so she was telling him, like, he's definitely a mama's boy, just like she thought that he was, and that if his mother's saying something, even if he don't agree with it, he at least gives her that respect and hears her out and listens to her. And so then she tells him that she was being nosy, looking through his books. Okay, this part rubbed me the wrong way. And she's like, I found that, which basically was the gun. And then she was telling him how when she first asked him about moving in there, he had told her that it was a safe place. And so he says yes. He was like, when I moved in here because of the security. It is a safe place, and this is a little something extra. He was telling her that he could go ahead and get rid of it if she didn't want it in there or it made her uncomfortable. And at that point, when he was saying I could get rid of it when you don't want it around, she actually picks it back up, starts clicking the gun clock, glocking it and all that. And I'm like, wait a minute. And she was like, I don't care about the gun. So obviously she knows how to handle a gun. And she was like, but I just told you, what I wanted, and some strippers and a, quiet vet ain't gonna cut it. And so she was like, you need more. And he was like, well, that I agree, and I will get on that the first thing tomorrow morning. And so he was like, where did you learn how to do that? Like, he peeped it too. And she was like, I told you how I grew up. She was like, you think my mom, would have pulled some bull crap and didn't teach me, just in case I have to save her? And he was like, save her? What about you? And so I'm like, yeah, what is her background? Because you saying you told Franklin, but the rest of us inquiring minds would like to know, all right? Spill the tea, let us know what this background is, because that was a red flag to me, all right? And so anyway, he tells her to come here, pulls her closer to him or whatever have you. And he's basically like, you think she'll ever come back or whatever the case may be, walk into the office and say she wants to be with us for the rest of our lives. And then she says if she does, we would be moving to Africa. And he starts laughing. She was like, same day and not looking back, And so that pretty much was like that. They was just laughing about that or whatever the case may be. And so then we see Miss Sissy. She's sitting in this diner. And I'm like, okay, Sissy, what's going on? What you here for? Who you going to see? All right. And we see her. Oh, God, excuse me, y'all. Oh, that came out of nowhere. We see her looking around and, she twisting with her hands and whatever have you. And so then we see this guy, Ruben, coming up. And I'm like, okay, who are you, Ruben? He talking about, hi, nice to meet you. First he was like, excuse me, do I know you? Have we met before? And Sissy was like, I don't think so. I'm not sure. I just got returned from Mexico City. And then he sits down and he's like, okay, well, I have good friends there as well. And he's like, oh, well, what he said is finally so nice to meet you. I heard a lot about you. Anna told me so much. And he's like, my name is Ruben. And he giving her a handshake. She's like, Sissy. He's like, nice to meet you too. So I'm like, well, who's this? Who's Anna? Who's Ruben? What's going on? So he asking her how was her trip. And she's like, it was good. And so he was like, Sissy, I want you to know, that I think it's incredibly brave what you're doing. I'm sorry for everything that you've been through. And, I know it must be a difficult time, for you and all of this kind of stuff. And so Sissy turns around and says to him, so how does this work? And he was like, well, we have to establish contact. We have to set up regular meetings, sometimes here, sometimes elsewhere. And as long as neither one of us is on, surveillance, we should be actually able to continue to meet. And so she was like, well, I've contacted my family and my son has confirmed that he's back. And so Ruben goes, Teddy McDonald, he was like, he's back. And so she was like, so what do you need from me? What are we going to do? And he's like, I want what you want, Sissy, okay? And I share your indignation over what the CIA has done, and to you and to your family. And so she said, let me be clear. I want answers first, okay? I want to know exactly what happened to Alton, and I want to make sure my family is safe. After that, you can kill Teddy McDonald. I said, what is this? are you doing, Sissy? Sissy came home to put everything in order, okay? She says, Sissy is home now. Sissy is home, all right? So this is getting interesting, guys. I just hope Sissy's okay. Like, protect Sissy at all costs, please. All right, y'all? But what did y'all think about this episode? Put it all in the comments, all right? Like, share, comment, subscribe. Till next time, toodaloo.